There were many strategic tactics in World War I, but one of them stood alone. This could cause enemies to retreat, but a single mistake could lead to sudden death of your own despise. Chemical warfare led to over 90,000 deaths during World War I.
Chemical warfare was first used in Athens around 600 BC to poison water supplies. Chemical weapons were designed to kill large numbers of people, temporarily disabling them or destroying their food and water supplies. Although these chemicals were lethal against people, they didn't affect land and property. This was one of the main tactics used to have an advantage in World War I.
To use the chemical weapons for attack, soldiers would set ground mines, so when the enemies would go over and trigger the mines, they would release the deadly gas. Another tactic to release the chemical weapons were to wait for a strong wind blowing towards the enemy forces, and then to release the gas. A quick direction change could prove deadly for the ones who released the deadly weapon.
In World War I, both sides had their own combinations and types of gases they used against the opposing side to cripple their forces. The first recorded chemical being used in war was in 1914 by the French. The opposing forces were in trenches to protect themselves from enemy gunfire. The French used the opportunity to open gas tanks into the air and let the gases fall into the opposing forces' trench, causing them to run out or die trying. Because of trenches protecting other forces, the idea of using chemicals and gases increased, and this was one of the main rises of chemical warfare.
Eventually, people invented suits that could protect them from these dangerous gases. These suits consisted of a breathing mask, goggles, and a thick layer of clothing to prevent gases from entering their suits. Because of these technologies coming out, forces had to use stronger methods to try to bring down these men wearing the suits. At this point, the fall of chemical warfare began. Soldiers began wearing these suits to become immune from the gases, and therefore opposing forces had a lesser chance of inflicting pain upon the enemy using chemicals and gases.
Overall, there were many strategic tactics in World War I, but one stood alone. This is because chemical weapons could kill many at once. It also forced enemies to retreat. Chemical warfare is still used in today's world, but if chemical weapons are used, it is seen as inhumane and an act of terrorism.